first number we played was a march entitled The Drum Major March by J.S. Taylor. It was one of the marches, or one of the numbers the band played at UIL concert contest back in April. The next number we'd like to play for you is written by a Texan, written by James Sutter, who is the band director at Texas Tech University in Lubbock. It is also a number on the 3A contest list, a little bit different type number than what we normally play. It's taken from a melody from the Catholic Church, and then variations are made out of it. The name of it is Thematic Variations on Dona Nobis Pacem by James Sutter. we just got through playing the Dona Nobis Pacem. It calls for lots of percussion, and we don't have lots of percussion, so we had to incorporate some of the other students to play some of the percussion parts. It has lots and lots of percussion parts. And these students did a good job of learning to play the percussion parts. We also have to use 2 or 3 extra percussion people on the next one. It's a different type of piece of music. It's also one we played at UIL concert contest, Chesford Portrait by James Swearington. We'd like to completely change the style now. And the piece of music is entitled At a Dixieland Jazz Funeral by Jerry Spears. It's based on the traditional Dixieland funeral of years ago, which is still practiced on occasion in New Orleans. The first section depicts musically a slow procession to the burial grounds, using Just a Closer Walk with Thee. The second section opens with a roll-off, followed by the familiar When the Saints Go Marching In. It is at this time the family and friends dance and celebrate as the departed is now on his or her way to heaven. Features a small Dixieland type group of Colin Anderson, Stephen Harrison, John Partain, Jack Runnels, Wesley Ellinger, and Jody David at a Dixieland Jazz Funeral. Next on your program is a piece of music entitled Sounds of Simon and Garfunkel. We're not going to do it.
Yay!
But before we play our last number, I'd like to recognize some people. This has been a good year for the band. They made a first division in marching contest, made a first division in UIL concert contest, and also sight reading contest, which the three first divisions altogether are called a sweepstakes. there were only 3 bands in our music region which made all ones at concert contest, and we were one of the ones. I am really proud of these kids and think they've done a good job. At this time, I'd like to recognize some of the individual awards. Pardon me. The first group of individuals I'd like to recognize are the ones that made the all-region band. And I would ask them to stand, please. Those 3 are Jody David, Colin Anderson, and Wesley Ellinger. The next recognition would be for 2 of those who made high enough in their section to go on to the next tryout, which is called the area tryout, and they are Jody David and Wesley Ellinger. The next group are the students who made the all-district band. They are Jody David, Ren Stinnett, Carolyn Harrison, Brent Bear, Wesley Ellinger, Chris Surratt in high school and junior high, Tammy Dooley in junior high, Stephen Harrison back to high school, David Grogan, and Colin Anderson. And I might also add that we had a 7th grader which made the junior high all-region band.
Oh, God.
Clay Webster. I forgot to recognize him. The next group are students who made first division at UIL Solo Ensemble Contest, and they are Jody David, Amy Bailey, Ren Stinnett, Carolyn Harrison, Wesley Ellinger, DeAndre Mack, David Rogan, Colin Anderson, John Partain, and Jimmy Lindsey. And the next group are the ones who made the 4 States Honor Band. They are Jody David, Wesley Ellinger, and Colin Anderson. We have another group who tried out last year and auditioned for it and made what is this year been called the SeaWorld All-Star Marching Band. They have been on numerous trips. They went to Chicago, they went to the Houston Livestock Show, they went to the Dallas Fair. Two or three other places. 2 of the members are in this group. One graduated last year. They are Jody David and Colin Anderson and Mark Blackburn, who graduated last year. And then we have 3 others who made first divisions on Class 1 solo at the District UIL Solo Ensemble Contest, and they will participate in the State Solo Ensemble Contest in Austin, May the 30th, and they are Jody David, Colin Anderson, and Wesley Ellinger. I have one other award that I would like to present at this time, and we presented it last year for the first time. I would also like to do like I did last year and read you the history behind it. This is the oldest and most prestigious national award for outstanding achievement by a high school or by and for high school musicians. The history behind it is, and I'll read this, the custom of bestowing valuable gifts on outstanding musicians goes back more than 2,000 years to the time of Arya. Mythology tells us that this semi-legendary poet and musician lived about 625 BC. He is said to have given literary form to the ancient dithyramb, a song or poem of a wild and exalted nature. The most popular musician of his time, Arion was showered with precious gifts wherever he traveled. After a particularly successful tour of Sicily and Magna Graecia, Arion was returning home on a Corinthian vessel when the sight of his treasures aroused the greed of the ship's crew. They decided to put him to death in order to possess his riches. As a last favor, Arion begged permission to sing a parting song. The request from so famous a musician was granted. Standing on the deck in full minstrel attire, he sang a dirge while playing a humming melody on his lyre. Arion then threw himself into the sea, but instead of drowning, he was miraculously carried to safety by a dolphin, charmed by his music. Arriving at Corinth before the ship, Arion told his story to his friend, Perander, ruler of that city. Determined to learn the truth, Perander summoned the sailors before him and demanded to know what had become of Arion. He was told that Arion had remained behind at Trentham. Suddenly they were confronted by Arion himself. The sailors confessed their guilt and were punished. Early Greek historians refer to a bronze figure at Trentham said to represent Arion standing on the back of a friendly dolphin. Today, Arion's lyre and the dolphin are still visible in the constellations of Lyra and Delphinus. Last year, this award went to a junior and to a senior. This year also is going to a junior and a senior. The senior was the same recipient of it last year, Colin Anderson. The junior, Jody Davis. One other group I would like to recognize, and this is the group that are playing their last performance here at Linden-Kildare High School. Most of the band will play another performance entitled Graduation, but these people will not be participating with the band. They're the seniors, and I'd like to recognize them, and I think we have a gift for them, yes. Would they come forward at this time? Colin Anderson, Tracy Crenshaw, Stephen Harrison, Shannon Hill, Jimmy Lindsey, DeAndre Mack, John Partain, Kimberly Plaisted, and Shelley Wright. At this time, I'd like to turn the program over to Mr. Stonett, President of the LK Band Booster Club.
This year, besides all the hard work that the parents have done in gathering enough money to go to Orlando, we also were able to gather enough money for two scholarships, two $500 scholarships to the recipients' college choice of college. The two recipients are hard-working young people One of them, and I can't quote it exactly, but on his scholarship application, spoke of how determined he was to succeed, and I think that speaks well of all the seniors and the band in general. These two young men will do well in life, we have no doubt. The scholarships will go to the college of their choice in their names when they decide where they're going. I think they probably know already. The two recipients are Colin Anderson and DeAndre Mack. The band boosters also worked hard enough to, in tradition, help Mr. Towler along a little bit along the way. I'd like to present this check from the band booster to Mr. Towler for all his hard work, although it's not nearly enough. We've already elected officers for next year, and I think we're going to have another good year. We had an outstanding year this year, and we want to work as hard as we can next year, hopefully to do as well as we did this year. I'd like to give special thanks to a couple of people that stepped down for various reasons for next year. Relda McMillan and Paul Ellinger, thank you for all your hard work that you've done. And we have a lot of other people to thank. Next year we look for your support, and all the help that you can give us will be appreciated for the band. Thank you.
We need just a second to get ready for the next part. We're trying something we've never tried before. You'll have to bear with us for just a minute. We couldn't have everything ready because we were afraid someone would trip on an extension cord. This is our last number. We appreciate you coming to the concert. We hope you've enjoyed it. We've enjoyed playing for you. I'm not going to say anything else about the last number. We're just going to start it.
Mr. Towler. Before we begin our next one, as band president on behalf of our band, I'd like to say a word of appreciation to Mr. Towler and for all the work that he's done this year. It's led up to our sweepstakes year. It's been a while since we've had a sweepstakes band. I believe it's because of this man that everything came together this year and we did have our sweepstakes band. So, in appreciation for your dedication and leadership for our success this year, Linden-Kildare High School sweepstakes band, I'd like to present this plaque to Rick Towler.
On March 3rd, 1969, the United States Navy established an elite school for the top 1% of its pilots. Its purpose was to teach the lost art of aerial combat and to ensure that that handful of men that graduated there were the best fighter pilots in the world. They succeeded. Today, the Navy calls it Fighter Weapons School. The Flyers call it Top Gun.
Thank you. We appreciate you coming. There's going to be a reception in the band hall.
Hi. I'm over.